Ian from RTO. Welcome to another album ranking, and welcome to what we call Marathon Wednesday, where we look at bands that have released more than 14 albums. And also today is Ladies' Day, where we appreciate female contribution to the rock world. Technically this is not an all-female band, but the driving force of this band are two fantastic sisters, Anne Wilson, Nancy Wilson, and they are in the band Heart, one of our favourite bands. I've been lucky enough to see them. Fantastic concert. Anne Wilson to me is probably one of the best rock singers, one of the best female, and probably one of the best rock singers in the planet. Okay, Heart formed in 1967, formed by Roger Fisher and Steve Fossen. They were called the Army, and then 2 years later they changed their name to Hocus Pocus, and the following year they went to White Heart, but eventually just shortened it to Heart. And by the mid-70s, Anne and Nancy had joined them. Michael DeRosa on drums and Howard Leese on guitars and keyboards to form that very successful band. And these core members were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2013. I mean, they've gone through different periods. They've gone folky, hard rock, heavy metal, sort of AOR rock, and so when the band started getting their popularity declined in the 80s, they came with a successful comeback, added a few people, and they had that sort of very what's the word I'm looking for? That very commercial, that's the word, period from 1985 to 1990. They disbanded in 1998, resumed performing in 2012, then went on hiatus till 2016, and then they come back in 2019, just before COVID. Fantastic. I know Anne Wilson's got an album coming out very shortly, which I'm looking forward to, but there's not much movement on the Heart at the moment. They've released 16 albums. All good. It's like these bands. There's periods that I prefer better than the others, and I keep saying to people, if I haven't put your favourite at the top, it's not because I don't like it or it's at the bottom. It's because I much prefer a different period of this band's catalogue. But I do listen to all their albums. I put them on quite a lot. I like listening to Heart, even the more 80s commercial sounding ones. They're just great. She's a great singer, and they write fantastic tunes. So let's start. So coming in at number 16, we've got the 12th album, released in 2001, and it's called Heart Presents a Lovemongers Christmas. On here we've got Anne Wilson, Nancy Wilson, Sue Ennis, Frank Cox, Ben Smith, Brad Allison, Dewey Marler, and Mary Frank. Now, Lovemongers is a side band that Anne and Nancy do, but for some reason it came out as Heart Presents. We will be looking at the Lovemongers albums at some stage. So on here we've got, they're all Christmassy songs, a lot of them original songs as well. Here is Christmas, then we've got Ball Below, Christmas Waits, William and Rose, Ava Maria, How Beautiful, The Last Noel, It's Christmas Time, On Holy Night, and Bring a Torch. It isn't a bad album, but it's a Christmas album that I only play once or twice a year. I always put it on at Christmas because I think it's a really good Christmas album. You know, it's not full of your usual Silent Nights and Good King Wenceslas. These are actually songs written by Anne Wilson and Nancy about Christmas. I think it's a really good album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Coming in at number 15 then, we've got the 7th album released in 1980. I'm sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. So it was released in 1983, Passionworks. This was the first album that featured Danny Carmassi and Mark Andes, who had replaced the long-time members Mike DeRosa and Steve Fossen. So on here we've got Ann Wilson doing the lead vocals and background vocals, Nancy Wilson on lead guitars, background vocals, rhythm guitars, synthesizers, Howard Leese on guitars, synthesizers, Mark Andes on the bass, and Denny Kamasi on the drums. And Lynn Wilson does some backing vocals. First track on this one, How Can I Refuse? I love this track. I love that bass line. It's a good solid rock track, that one. Blue guitar, love Anne's vocals on this. She has got one hell of a set of bellows there. She's really good. Johnny Moon, it's an interesting arrangement. It's okay. Sleep Alone, very 80s, very 80s sounding, but it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just very 80s, very dated. Together Now, not a bad track, it's just the production side is a little bit of that horrible 80s sound. The drums have been sort of mellowed and made to sound like a clean instrument. They're not, they're hard and they're heavy. Allies, love the vocal, but I don't like the song itself. Beat by Jealousy, too much of that 80s production on this, it really just spoil it. Heavy Heart, probably one of the weaker tracks. Love Mistake, again it's pleasant as song, but it's just 80s. Language of Love is just a good rock and roll track but full of 80s production. Ambush, it's got that horrible 80s keyboard on it and that's what ruins it, but everything else is pretty good. This is just a product of the 80s. I really don't like the production on it, but I do like a lot of the songs. It is not a bad album by any means. It's just, as a production from 1983, it is pretty clean and it's all smoothed out. But I do like a lot of the songs, as I said, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Coming in at number 14, we have the 9th album released in 1987, Bad Animals. Again, it's Ann Wilson, Nancy Wilson, Howard Leese, Mark Andes and Denny Kamasi. First track, Who Will You Run To? I love this. I love the guitar solo on this. It's brilliant. It's even better live. It's really heavy live and I do like that track. Then we get the big smash hit for them, Alone, which is not one of their own. I'm sure people know that. Alone was actually composed by Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, who recorded it under the name of I-10 in 1983. It's been recorded by one or two people, but I think this is the best version of it. It's got a great vocal from Ann on it, and I do like this song actually. It's a really good song. Great guitar solo in it. There's nothing wrong with it. There's the Girl. Oh dear, more that 80s production, so we'll forgive it for that. I Want You So Bad. Don't like the song, but I do like Anne's singing on it. Terrific. Wait for an Answer. Again, it's got lots of 80s production, but it's one of the best songs on the album, and I love Anne's singing on this one. Very powerful. Bad Animals itself, weird start. It's got some great guitar work on this, and probably Anne's best vocal on the album. It Ain't So Tough, horrible 80s song. Strange as the Heart, very wishy-washy song. Don't like it at all. Sorry. Easy Target, love this. My favourite track on the album. I I just love the guitar work on it. Even for an 80s production, it's crisp, it feels right, it's raw, good stuff. Then we get RSVP, a typical 80s ballad with a fantastic guitar solo on it. I don't know if it's Howard or Nancy, but it's a cracking solo. Again, I really like this album. It's got some really good tracks on it. Again, it's just the production for me that sort of pops it at the bottom of the pile. I've heard a lot of these songs live, and they do sound better live. And so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, need a drink already. Dear oh dear. Okay, coming in number 13. We go to the 10th album, released in 1990. Brigade. This is the tour I saw them on. We've got Ann Wilson, Nancy Wilson, Harold Lees, and Denny Kamasi and Mark Andes again. Opens up with Wild Child. I mean, they opened up their set with this. I like this song. Really good riffs in it, and it's when it's live, it's really heavy. I suppose the only downside of this that Mutt Lange's involved with it. You know my feelings of Mutt Lange, but don't take it away. It is a good song. Next song, All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, written by Mutt Lange. And sorry, I don't like this song at all. I've never liked it. I think it's cheesy. It was a big hit for them, of course, but I just don't like it. The only positive thing I can say about it, that Anne's vocal performance on it is terrific. And it does sound a lot better live, but it's still a song that if I never hear it again, I'm not going to cry over it. Secret. I don't like that one either. It's just, I don't like the keyboards on it. It's just too poppy, I think they went a little bit too commercial on that one. But I do like Tall, Dark, Handsome, Stranger. There's rocks, great riffs, great vocal. I didn't want to need you. More ballady stuff. Then we get the best track on this album, co-penned by Mr. Sammy Hagar from Van Halen, Montrose, and all them good bands he's been in. Quite heavy. Love the riffs in this, and it's the best vocal for man on this album. The riffs on this are so strong. Fallen from Grace, I don't mind this one, but take away that horrible 80s keyboard sound, and I think you got a damn good track. I've heard this live, and it's really heavy because there's not so much of that keyboard, it's more the guitar sound of Howard and Nancy when they did it live. Under the Sky, don't mind this one. It's one of their quieter songs. It's pretty cool actually. Cruel Nights, great vocal for man on a really mediocre track. Stranded, another fine performance by Anne. I love that, really good. Call of the Wild, good track, great opening riff from Nancy. She can play a mean guitar. I could tell you, I haven't seen her live, she doesn't just stand there, she really rocks. Really good track, and it's good live. I Want to Turn You On, I Want the World to Turn, sorry. Hate the drums on this, hate the keyboards, but I do like the riff. I Love You. I'm not keen on this song again, but I do like Anne's performance on it. Again, this album is a really good album. Sort of very special because it was the tour I saw them on, so I heard a lot of these songs live. But I prefer other albums, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. It's still a good score. It's an album I do play a lot. Okay, coming in at number 12, we have the 8th album from 1985, the self-titled Heart. Again, this has got Anne, Nancy, Howard, Mark and Denny on it. Opens up with a brilliant track called If Looks could kill. Love this track. Great riffs in this. Forget that it's made in 1985, it still rocks. And it sounds good live. What a Lot About Love. A slow song, an 80s ballad, but I actually like this one. It's got a great vocal from Anne. I think that's why I like it. Never. It's too 80s for me. It's got that horrible keyboard sound. Whoever invented that needs shooting because it sounds awful. These Dreams. The track that they, when you get a compilation album, if it's got a heart track on, it's this. It's been played to death. Written by Bernie Taupin and Martin Page. It's a great song, but it's got too much overkill on it now, so I don't really like listening to it now. It's a shame because when it came out I liked it. I thought it was a really strong song, but when it gets played to death it sort of puts you off. Then we have The Wolf. This one's my favourite. It's a rocker, even with that 80s production it still rocks. It's got some great vocals from Anne, some nice guitar work from Nancy and Howard. Pretty cool track. All Eyes, another really good track. The only thing that spoils this one is the drum production. Sounds a bit muffled. Nobody Home, the only good thing about it is the guitar solo. Nothing at All, a little bit wishy-washy for me. 80s production, overproduced. What He Didn't Know. This is a nice track, nice melody and a great vocal from Anne. Then we get another stonky rocker, Shell Shock. Another cracking vocal from Anne. One of the best ones on this album from her. Okay, out of them three mid-80s albums, Bad Animals, Brigade and this one, I think this one's the best one of them three. It's got some good songs on it. The production's not as smooth. There's still quite a lot of raunchy guitar on this, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.2. Okay then, coming in at number 11, we've got the 11th album, Big Gap. 3 years between this and Brigade. Desire Walks On, released in 1993. It was the final album to feature Howard Leese as well. So we got Anne Wilson, Nancy Wilson, Howard Leese, Danny Kamazi, and on bass here we have got Shula DeLille and some keyboards by John Purdell. Desire. This is 18 seconds of just total weirdness. Then we get Black on Black 2. Gore. 1993. Different ideas of production. Driving guitar riffs. Thumping bass. Good track. Back to Avalon. This is going back to the early acoustic folky sound. I really love that song. The Woman in Me. For some reason it's got a horrible drum machine on. I don't know why they're using it. Danny Kamazi is a pretty good drummer. Rage. You can see what I thought about Woman in Me. I'm not even talking about it. Rage. I love this track. Again, some great guitar riffs. I think Nancy can put a great riff and a good solo. In Walks the Night. Not one of my favourites on the track, but it's listenable as usual. My Crazy Head. Solid rock track. Nothing wrong with that. Ring Them Bells. It's okay. Will You Be There in the Morning. Penned by Mutt Lang. You know it's a Mutt Lang song. Probably took him 10 years to actually write this. It's alright. Voodoo Doll. Very unusual arrangement this is, but it's quirky and I really like the guitar work on this one. So I do like that one. Anything Is Possible, not a bad track. I do like Anne singing on that one then. Avalon, reprise, a little bit of the track again, nothing wrong with that. And then we get the title track, Desire Walks, on best track on the album, last track. Strong riffs, really like this song a lot. Very good album. Got some great tracks. Quite raw and raunchy in places. I've still got a bit of that poppy element with it, but that would eventually go. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.3. Okay, we've reached the top 10. So coming in at number 10, we have the 13th album, released in 2004, Jupiter's Darling. On here, it's been all changed now. We've got different people in the band. We've still got Anne and Nancy, of course. We've got Craig Bartok on lead guitar, Darian Sajana on keyboards, Mike Inez on bass, and Ben Smith on drums. Make Me. Love this short track. It's something that could have come straight off of Dreamboat Annie. Absolutely brilliant track. Oldest Story in the World. Love that punchy start. And great singing again. It's a good song, solid. Things. Another really nice little acoustic number. I love the harmony between Nancy and Anne. Love the harmonies. They really sing well together. Really strong track. The Perfect Goodbye. Nothing wrong with this one. Great stuff. Lovely harmonies again from the sisters. Enough. It's okay. Not my favourite track. Move On. Oh, proper rocker this is. Really strong riffs. Driving riffs. Fantastic song. I Need the Rain. I love this. It's got mandolin in it. I think that these Nancy, I think, and Anne really love Led Zeppelin. So you always get this sort of bits and bobs that come from the Led Zeppelin, and mandolin obviously was featured on some of the Led Zeppelin stuff, and it's a terrific song. I Give Up. Quirky little rock track. Nice acoustic guitar on this one. Excellent track. Vanglorious, another stonking rock track, heavy riffs, and vocal from Annie's fantastic on that one. No Other Love, It's Okay, not too bad. Led to One, certainly not. Now, I don't know if this is sort of an homage to Led Zeppelin, but it does feel very Led Zeppelin, with, you know, Led to One, near enough. It's definitely got Led Zeppelin feel to it, and it's a pretty good track. I mean, I've heard some of the covers they've done on stage of Led Zeppelin songs, and they're pretty mean. And sings them well. Down the Nile, another good track. Nice guitar work again from Nancy on that one. I'm Fine. Very good. Very good track. Fallen Ones, love the bass line on this. Great vocal from Anne. Lost Angel, bit of a mediocre filler track. And Hello Moonglow again, it's alright. It's a bit of a filler. Then we get How Deep It Goes. Yeah, it's still there. It's a very weak track. And then they put a acoustic version of Fallen Ones. So we've got a real good rock version. Do we need acoustic? Not really. It's a really strong album, this is, but with 18 tracks on it, there's quite a bit of filler on here. I think I don't know why these bands do it. Put lots of tracks on. It was a thing when on CDs, cram as much on, but not some of this time they put mediocre tracks on it. I think if they'd got rid of if they'd got rid of some of that filler, I think this would have been a little bit higher. but I still think it's a good album, and I'll give it an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, coming at number 9, we've got the 16th and most current album released by Heart in 2016, and it's called Beautiful Broken. Aside from 2 new songs, the album consists of mostly reinterpretations of songs from their earlier albums. We've got Ann Wilson on here doing the vocals, of course, Nancy on the guitar, Ben Smith on drums, Craig Bartok on guitars, Chris Joyner on synths, Dan Rothschild on bass. Additional people on here are James Hetfield and the Hungarian Studio Orchestra. Lots of people on this, but James Hetfield's one of the most prominent. Okay, the first track here is called Beautiful Broken. It's from Fantic. We'll talk about that in a moment. There's not much difference between this and the one on Fantic, but the only difference, we've got Mr. James Hetfield singing on it, which adds to it anyway. It's pretty good. Then we get a track called 2. Nice song, nice production, really like that. Then we get Sweet Darling, which is on Bébé le Strange. Not much difference again. I think this version is just a little bit more richer, which I like. I like both versions, but this is just a little bit richer. Then we get I Jump. I like this one a lot. My favourite one on the album. The strings are good, some good heavy riffs. Quite progressive metal without being progressive metal. Pretty good. Johnny Moon. Now, this was on Passionworks, but they've taken away the 80s production, put a better guitar solo on it, and it's great. It's the best version of this song I've got. Then we get a track called Heaven. Now, this was on a live album. It was the only place it had appeared. It's a really good track, and now they've decided to put this on this album and do it in the studio. It's a great song. I love this track. Pretty cool. Then we get Cities Burning, which is on an album called Private Audition. I love the original, which we'll talk about, and I like this version as well. The guitars are more heavier on this. It's got a really heavy vibe to it. Down on Me. I'm not going to say too much about this, but it's a great track, whatever version you've got. One Word. It's a song off Private Audition, and I prefer the version on this. It's a really good song. Language of Love. This, again, the version on this is a lot better. It was from Passionworks. That 80s production has gone, and this sounds much better, and it proves what a great song this was. Okay, out of all the albums I've got where bands have done this sort of thing, surely this is the best one I've got, because I think that the tracks that are off Passionworks sound so much better than the original. The production's just so good, and it was a breath of fresh air, and I do like this album a lot. Hearing these old songs revamped, and they have probably picked some of the best songs off them albums to revamp. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.7. Okay then, coming in at number 8, we go to the 14th album, released in 2010, Red Velvet Car. Again, there's a personnel change on this one. We got Ann Wilson, Nancy Wilson, Ben Smith's there again. We got 2 new guys, Rick Markman on the bass and Ben Mink on guitars, gypsy fiddle and viola and lap steel. There You Go is the first track. Love this track. Got a bit of a bluesy feel to it. Love the bass line. Terrific song. Then we got WTF. We all know what that stands for. Short, sharp, great little track. Nice rock track. Red Velvet Car, love this. It's really got a lot of blues feel to this nice song. Queen City, this one rocks. Nice vocal for Man. Hey You, little bit cheesy for me, but there you go. Wheels, interesting drums on this, but it's a really good track. Safrona's Mark, nice acoustic work on this. It's terrific from Nancy, brilliant. Death Valley, one of my favourite tracks on the album. It's just a solid rock track with a great vocal for Man. Sunflower, nice riffs, heavy riffs, good little track. Then we have Sand, which is a song done by the Lovemongers, which we'll be having a look at some stage. As I said, it's a really good track. Really like this album, like it a lot. I like the mixture of heavy tracks and acoustic tracks and bluesy tracks. Listen to this one quite a lot, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.8. Okay, my mouse is stuck, shall I see it? Okay, coming in number 7, we have the 7th album, 6th album even. Come out in 1982, and it's Private Audition. This was the last Heart album that featured Mike DeRosa and Steve Fossen. So it's Ann Wilson, Nancy Wilson, Howard Lees, Steve Fossen and Mike DeRosa, the last of that sort of classic lineup. First track on here is City It's Burning. As I said on the Beautiful Broken, I do like this track. Doesn't matter what version it is, it's got some great guitar work on it. It's a terrific track. Both sound as good as each other. Bright Light Girl, little quirky tracks, got some really nice harmonica at the beginning, really good. Perfect Stranger, loves Anne's vocals on it. She's absolutely stunningly brilliant on that one. Private Audition, love the harmonies between Nancy and Anne on this. Just a solid track, excellent stuff. Angels, again, great song. It's quirky. There's just something about this song that I really like. I can't hit the nail on the head with that one, but it's one of my favourites on the album. The Man Is Mine, again, quirky, catchy, gets your feet tapping. The Situation, great rocker, some great riffs on that, strong, heavy. Hey Darling, not particularly a favourite of mine. One Word, never a fan of this song, but when I heard it redone on Beautiful Broken, I liked it. I prefer the re-recorded version. Fast Times, definitely my favourite track on this. Great harmonies and some screeching vocals from Anne. Fantastic. Great track. America, love the strings and piano together and this and Anne singing. It's just perfect. I would say this is the last out of that. Well, it is the last of that classic lineup of Heart. And then after this one they changed their sound a little bit and got more commercial. I love this album to bits, and I'll give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Right, coming in at number 6, 15th album, 2012, Fantic. On here we've got Nancy Wilson, Ben Mink, Rick Martman, Ben Smith and Ann Wilson. Fantic, again one of them really heavy tracks from Heart, full of energy, great riffs, brilliant track. Dear Old America, thumping bass line here, even got some violins on this, really good rocker. Then there's Walking Good, which they did with Sarah McLachlan. Really nice song this is. Acoustic, strings, great vocals. You got 3 wonderful singers on it. Great track. Skin and Bones, more driving bass lines here from Rick Martman. And then you got Nancy's great riffs on top of it, brilliant. A Million Miles, a catchy tune. Love the mandolin in this. It's absolutely brilliant. Really adds to the track. Pennsylvania. I love these tracks where you just get the two sisters. Then we get my favourite track on the album. This is a stonker. I think it's called Mashallah. After all these years, Anne's voice is still strong as ever. What a remarkable voice she's still got. I love the strings on this. It's just a real good track. Rock Deep Vancouver. Like this track, hard rocker that you don't expect in a ballad. This is quite a mixture. 59 Crunch, another belter. Great rocker. It's got a great solo on that. Love that one. Then Cordery Road. This is a nice slow rock track with a great bass line. Hands on Fire. Love this. It's got the strings give it some mystical Easty feel to it. I think this is their best album since Private Audition. Play this one a lot. It's one of the heavier albums as well, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9.2. Right, we've got to the top 5 now. Now, these are the classic albums. Again, these can flip. I think when I was putting this together, I think this changed. Some albums changed places 3 or 4 times. So I went with this one in the end because if I'd have really sat down, I would have changed it all again. So I just stopped. So coming in at number 5, we have the second album, Magazine. Originally released in 1977 by Mushroom Records in an unfinished form without the band's permission. This is where Mushroom Records went into liquidation and they still own the rights to the album, and they put it out without the band's knowledge, and there was court cases and God knows. But then a second authorised version came out in 1978. On here we've got the classic lineup: Steve Fossen, Mike DeRosa, Howard Leese, Roger Fisher, Nancy Wilson and Ann Wilson. First track, Heartless. Classic track. Love that funky bass line from Mr. Steve Fossen. Excellent track. Then we got my favourite track on this, one of my favourite tracks by heart, Devil Delight. Love the guitar work in this, from Howard Leese, Roger Fisher. They're all really good on this. Just the Wine, nice acoustic folky style track, really good track. Right, then we get Without You. Actually, the song, I don't know how many people know that, was actually originally recorded by a band called Badfinger, who are a really good band. But the most famous version of this, of course, is Harry Nilsson's. It's the best version. I think it's better than Badfinger's. This version's good. And then we had the worst version of this by Mariah Carey, who doesn't sing on it, she just wails. I like this song, always have liked this song. Nate and Hart do a great version. It's actually a Suicide note, if you didn't know. It's a great song. Then we get Magazine. I love this. Anne's voice is lovely on this. So delicate. She was, back in her youth. Love that track. Here Song. Love the flute on this. Beautiful song. And then because Mushroom Records in their wisdom decided to throw this out and try and cash in, There's 2 live tracks on here. There's the blues melody, Mother Earth, and You Shook Me Babe. They do a great version of You Shook Me Babe. But I think this was a Mushroom Records cop out. And then a very bad version of I've Got the Music in Me. Okay, this is a very good album, considering what happened, how it come out. You know, they got an album out eventually, but you know, having the live tracks on it was a bit of a cop out. But there you go. But I love this album, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9.3. Okay, coming in number 4 then, we have the 5th album from 1980, Bébé le Strange. It was the first album without Roger Fisher. So we're now just down to Ann Wilson, Nancy Wilson, Howard Leese, Michael DeRosa and Steve Fossen. First track is the title track, Bébé le Strange. This just starts off with that great gritty bass line from Steve Fossen. What a track, real good rocker. Then we get my favourite track, it's Down on Me. A great bluesy track, great riffs. Again, I like both versions, the one on the re-recorded and this. It's just a great track, classic track from Heart. Silver Wheels, nice little short acoustic piece with Nancy playing some really nice little bits on this. Then we get Break. Now I think this is quite post-punk to me. It's really hard, heavy, great stuff. Rocking Heaven Down, the guitar solo on this is really good. It's a great track. I love that one to death. Even It Up. The opening riffs on this from Howard and Anna, from Nancy, are brilliant. And you get a great vocal from Anne, some great drumming from Mike. That's a brilliant track. Strange Night, again, it's still got a little bit of post-punk here. Really heavy stuff, good stuff as well. Raised on You, excellent track. Love the piano on that. It really holds the track together. Pilot. Now, this reminds me of Smokey of all bands. I like it. I really like that track. Sweet Darling, great track. They re-recorded it. It's still a great track. This is a brilliant album. Not a bad track on it. Some great work here from the Wilson sisters on this album. Really strong. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9.4. Okay, coming in at number 3 then, we have the 4th album released in 1978. Dog and Butterfly. It's got Anne on it, Roger Fisher, Howard Leese, Steve Fossen and Nancy Wilson and Mike DeRosa. Cook with Fire. Now this is that track where you think it's going to be hello. It's just a live track on a studio album, but it isn't. You get the introduction of the band and all that, whatever, and then it goes into a studio track, which is, I think, is quite clever. And I love the drumming from Michael DeRosa on this. Absolutely brilliant. High Time, great little rocker. Great vocal for Man on this. Some great guitar work on it as well. High Jinks, one of Steve Fossen's booming bass line. Some great drumming from DeRosa. This is classic Heart. Straight On. The guitar work on this is fantastic. You know, you've got Howard, Roger and Nancy. Well, great sound on that. Really good. Then we get the title track, Dog and Butterfly. This is my favourite ballad from Heart, without a doubt. I love the gentleness of it. But I do like the powerful vocal that from Anne. It's a terrific song. Lighter Touch, slower rock track with some delicate guitar work on this one. Excellent stuff. Another one of those gentle tracks. Some lovely vocals from both Anne and Nancy on that one. Mistral Wind, love the driving riffs on this. It starts off nice and gentle and subdued and then turns into a awesome rock track. Great way to end the album. An album with a mixture of slow rockers, ballads and hard rock tracks. Love playing this album. You can play it and play it again. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.5. Number 2 then. This was difficult because there's not much between the number 1 and the number 2 at all. Wafer thin. So number 2 is the third album released in 1977 at Little Queen. With Anne, Nancy, Roger, Howard, Michael and Steve. Opens up with my favourite song by Heart. Everyone knows this track with that opening riff. It's Barracuda. Great. I just love this track. Powerful vocal from Anne. And when you hear this live, it just blows your socks off. Great stuff. Then we get Love Alive, again one of my favourite acoustic tracks. It's got the flute in it. It's very Jethro Tull in places, which isn't a bad thing, I don't think. Then we get Sylvan Song. You know there's Led Zeppelin influence in this. Got some lovely mandolin. This is sort of Led Zeppelin 3 sort of thing. It's pretty cool. I love that track. Dream of the Archer, more mandolin. Again, it's got that Led Zeppelin 3 vibe. These Sylvan Song and Dream of Archer, very, very Led Zepp 3, and I love them. Anne's vocal on it is brilliant. Kick It Out, really good rock track. Even as a young lady at the time, her voice was so strong, absolutely brilliant. Then we get the title track, another of my favourite tracks. Little Queen, a funky bass line here from Steve with a great rock riff. The combination works really well. Treat Me Well, good song, nice melody. A little bit of harmonica in there, just adds atmosphere to it, pretty good. Say Hello, quite folky this one is. It's a proper folk song, and I love listening to the Nancy and Anne singing together. They really sound great together. Cry to Me, another acoustic song, brilliant. Go On Cry starts off with some nice acoustic guitar, then it builds into a great solo, but I think it's played by Roger Fisher. It's just terrific. This is a superb album. Again, what I like about these early Heart albums, you've got a mixture of rockers, acoustic songs, ballads. Great album, top to bottom. I'll give it an RTO ranking of 9.6. Okay, my number 1 happens to be their debut album from 1975, Dreamboat Annie. I just love this album. Ann Wilson, Nancy Wilson, Roger Fisher, Howard Lee, Steve Foster and Mike DeRosa. Opens up with Magic Man. What a track. That opening riff and guitar solo, it just blows your head off. Hearing it live was just amazing. One of my favourites. Great vocal by Anne, and it's track 1 of the first album. Dreamboat Annie, the fantasy child in brackets. Even on this debut album, Anne's voice is brilliant. Very gentle. Then we get my second favourite track, I think, by heart. The brilliant Crazy on You. Love that acoustic start, Nancy. And then you get the great electric riffs of Howard and Roger coming in. And a great vocal from Anne. It's brilliant. Soul of the Sea. Now this is quite progressive to me. It's a very good progressive rock track. I don't know if it was meant to be. It's got some lovely textures, and the strings on this are fantastic. Then we get Dreamboat Annie. Love Steve Fosson's bass, and then that nice gentle guitars from Nancy. What a track. Love it to death. White Lightning and Wine, great little rocker. Guitars on them very good. And then we got Anne's vocal showing her versatility. Love Me Like Music, I'll Be Your Song. Nice gentle song. I love the guitars on this, and you get this steel guitar, some lovely tones. Great track. Sing Child, what a heavy riff to this song. Great rock song. Anne's voice is fantastic on that one. How Deep It Goes, a gentle song with some lovely mandolin, complemented by some good guitar work. Very, very nice. Then we get a reprise of Dreamboat Annie. I've got no problem from that because you get a little bit more strings in this. It's a nice song anyway, so let's have a little bit more. Okay, what a debut album. I think they've been a very consistent band. This is an album that there's no age on this. It's just great. The folk music's good, the rockers are good, and you knew at this stage that Ann Wilson was going to be a great singer. I mean, she has got one of the greatest voices in rock, without a doubt. Definitely the best female singer. So, an album that I play all the time, and one of my favourite albums. And I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.7. So there we are. Heart. Great band. And as soon as Anne's album comes out, I'll be listening, and I will be giving it a review, of course. Well, that's all for today, as it's Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow, and tomorrow is the last Then and Now. The next, I don't know, it may come back. But tomorrow we're looking at American rock band Skid Row. And then tomorrow's album artwork is looking at the studio albums of Hawkwind. When I was putting together the mighty ranking I did, I thought, yeah, there's some really good album artwork here. I need to have a look at this properly. And we will tomorrow. And don't forget, tomorrow at 8 PM, it is live stream day. So join us for that, and I will be back tomorrow. Bye for now.